welcome to a new episode of the Advancing Consciousness series with Franco Di Nicola. This is a place where people can come to gain further insight and clarity as to what is going on and how we can shift things on a personal and global level, while also accessing higher levels of consciousness and awareness. We bring this series to you free of charge so that many are able to access this information. And if you resonate with what Franco shares and you would like to support his work, contributions are welcomed and greatly appreciated. A link is in the description and will be provided in the chat if you feel guided to do so. Also, we have many previous workshops, such as the most recent, Actualizing Beyond Your Current State to Live Your New Reality, along with our membership program, Let's Talk About You, where like-minded people come together bi-weekly to talk about the topics requiring deeper understanding and clarity. All of these are available on Teachable, and we encourage you to check them out as they are great resources at very affordable prices to assist in better understanding this human experience. The Teachable link will also be provided in the chat and description. And lastly, don't forget to share. As more of us are coming together and creating a shift in oneself, the more effective it will be to shift things globally. Thank you for joining us and being part of this change. Enjoy today's broadcast.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series. Today we get to play with episode 85. Some of you have probably missed me last week, which I was hoping to get on Tuesday, but then it got postponed to Thursday, and Thursday was not possible either. Thank you for all your kind wishes and so forth. Been dealing with some unfunctionality or non-functionality on the physical aspect of things. Things are a little bit better today. The question yesterday would have been a completely different question, and the day before that. But anyways, here we are. We get together, we get to play, and we get to go even further in our journey that we are playing with at this point in time. So in episode 85, we're going to look at using this upcoming intensity to become more of you. Because right now we are dealing with some very interesting intensities on a large scale. Many of us are feeling it energetically, others are feeling it by just your surroundings, the people around you, the people that you're engaged with, also all the beautiful energies that are being projected in this accentuated polarization that we're all experiencing at this time. So the reason we're doing this episode specifically with the upcoming intensities, because the intensities keep rolling and ramping up, and also the stage of what we call the world is really showing some pretty powerful intensities. Very, very polarized, very, very unsettling in many, many ways, with a lot of opportunities to bring up the fears, survival mode, and confusion and all that type of stuff. Before we even get into the physical part, we get into everything else that we're seeing emotionally and otherwise, because we're feeling it very deeply on so many levels. Now, there's a couple of things going on at the same time. We're having very, very strong energies coming in that are there to support us, to assist us to shift, and that's what we're doing. We're going through major purges and the erasing and clearing out of your older selves, all your older stories, labels, definitions, and so forth, but also the emotional charges, your old operating system within the physicality. Also, whatever we've experienced physically, also taken on various chemistries, various things that we've had since birth till now, that we're purging a lot of that within our energy, in our own bodies and so forth. Plus also the new levels of exposures and everything else that's going on. We're kind of really setting ourselves up in a way to make ourselves much more immune, in a sense, of anything that's going on. In fact, we're getting to a scale where none of it even exists in this platform, because we have to understand we have to be in that vibration and frequency to be able to play there. Many of us are drawn there, and we're going to talk about more of that today as we go along. But at the same time, we're also seeing things falling apart. We're also seeing intensities when it comes to what we can call insanity, non-coherent. We're also noticing things don't make sense. We're seeing and experiencing a lot of projected narratives and ideas. Even well-meaning people in some way are getting caught up in the whirlwind of polarity, meaning good, bad, right, wrong, evil, this and that, which is only really perpetuating another part of the level of purging, because we're here to discover more of ourselves, to become more of that. So the whole idea that, something can harm you is putting you in victim state. And yes, if we're still very active in that belief system, it's going to still come up to the surface. So there's so much going on right now at this time to create chaos. But at the same time, guess what? Deep inside what's really happening. We're going through a transformation. Transformation personally as the human experiencer, and also the playground. And it doesn't matter how many layers of the older versions that were taken on, that were polarized, separate, inverted, and all of that stuff. That's all purging. But the thing is, what looks crazy is, first of all, the key is you to evolve, you to expand, you to connect with you to become the genuine you, the true you, the pure you. So as source in a human experience, or a human, what we call vessel or whatever it is, but holographic projection, so that you will take the driver's seat in designing all of this. This is why you're here. It's not outside of you. It's not like the world is dictating. Yes, we have bought into the idea that the world shapes us, the world makes us, the world is what we are to play with. But in fact, we are the ones that are designing it. And this is why there's been a lot of attention and focus and directive to condition us, because we're the only ones that are projecting what we're seeing. And I've said this before, but it's good to remind you because of the fact that we forget. We look at the world and we have to internalize the world, and how do we deal with it? How do we survive with it? How do we manage? It's not about managing. It's about flourishing, about designing, shaping your reality, shaping your world, because the world that you are shaping is all of our world. It's all of our playground. And each one of us is a version of us playing together. We're all doing it together. So all of that playing out at this point in time is really there to accentuate and to move things up very quickly. And we'll notice that as we're going along, that things are just picking up the pace. And we have a journey that we're still on that's going to accentuate these intensities, are going to accentuate these levels of polarity. Especially we're going into later part of the year, after this month and so forth, we're going to see more of that coming to the surface. And this is where it's much more powerful for you to be in that empowered state, in that state where you are the director. And it doesn't matter what is projected to you. It doesn't matter what anybody's saying. You are you, and you are designing it. You are shaping it. You make your own decision. You are using your very knowing, consciousness, and source essence within yourself to really shape every part of it. It's not outside of you, never has been, but we have bought into that idea. And that was a great ride, a great experience, great whatever we want to call it. But where are we now? We are now going into that other stage where we come to that realization that we are the designer, we are the shaper, we are everything. Okay, so let's get to play here. All right, let's do it this way. Okay. Oops, what did I just do? It does look different. Let me fix that up for a second there. I may have pressed the wrong button and got off track there. There we go. Let's see how that goes. There we go. Okay, so the reason I say using, it's to take the opportunity to use this what we have kind of prepared ourselves for, brought ourselves here for, and to have that as an opportunity to really flourish. We're not here at this time by accident, and you know that, and you've heard this many times from others, yourself, from what I've said many times. And now it's like, okay, each stage that we're going through, each opportunity we're going through, we get to flourish more, we get to discover more, we get to let go more of whatever was not us in the beginning, what we've carried on, and all the definitions and labels and stories, programs, belief systems, and emotional charges and whatever else. We're just moving, we're using this opportunity to move forward. But what are we doing? For the upcoming intensities, it's to become more of you. More of you. What does that mean? More of you. The true you. It is the you that is the creator. As the creator, what do you do best? You create. And you experience your creation. See, we're on a playground, we create. It doesn't matter what anybody says, and this is up to you to believe whatever or know within yourself. I shouldn't use the word believe because that doesn't work. But the whole idea to know that the idea that everything is created is not true. We have created through projections along the way as potentialities, as what we can create. But when you are in a position of evolving, when you're in a position of enlightenment, when you're in a position of becoming a grander aspect of yourself, you reach more access points. You get to a point where you are able to create. It's like anything in technologies. New discoveries are made through experimentation, through trial and error, whatever you want to call it. We are as Source, we are the spirit of Source, which is the creator part of us. As we are constantly expanding. Source is expanding. It's reaching new levels of self-awareness and potential creation, creating with more imagination, even though it's not related to the way we use it, but it's an extension of that. So the thing is, as we grow, as we evolve, of course we shape things differently. Especially now that we don't even have any fixed timelines. Because when we used to have fixed timelines, we created multiple probabilities along the way so that we can choose what channel we were going to go on and what we were going to experience. But we've wiped that out. We are basically an open platform. Nothing could be projected in the future. You can project whatever you are from where you are now, but it's going to change because we are all changing. How we interact, what we decide, what we experience, what we get to a point of saying this is enough and we design it differently is going to shape it. But the thing is, what's shaping it is us with more consciousness, more awareness, and also achieving a deeper connection with yourself so that you use your imagination, creativity much more powerful. We're not even in manifestation anymore. We are in creation. Okay? So as the creator that you are, more of you. Instead of being the spectator, instead of you being the one that is dictated and driven by your stories, programs, belief systems, or whatever you've learned, whatever you have available in your playground, where you've come through, what your experiences was, or were, your experiences were, it's no longer that. You're discovering the true essence of you. And in that, you no longer rely in the external. You no longer rely on anyone. You are you, expressing the uniqueness of you, your capability, and then You at that point, doesn't matter what is offered, you choose from a discerned point if you want to engage, how you want to engage, or if you want to take a little piece of it and reshape it anyways. So the thing is, the world is just kind of presenting itself, and you decide how far do you want to dive into it, what you want to play with, what you want to be actively redesigning or shaping to you, to what serves you, what actually matches what you come here to do. You're no longer here to just come and experience the playground. You came here not only to experience the playground, you came here to express within the playground, to create something amazing more than ever before. And that's how the playground is designed now. It's an open platform. It's not so closed up as before. Now we have levels that are still projecting closed, like all of the different systems, different fake authorities or whatever it is that's out there, because there are no authorities. But whatever is out there showing that there's restrictions, you have to follow these guidelines, these specific rules, you have to walk down this path. This is the only option you have. This is the only resources you have. That is just an illusionary projection that is starting to fall apart and has for quite some time, and it's getting more and more unstable. But at the same time, the role players are pushing it harder so that we get stronger. We get to a point and say, we're done. We're finished. We're not playing there any longer. And then we're stepping at it. So what are we doing? Becoming more of you. It's time to play on your terms. Time to be you. Time to let go of all the older versions of you that you've adopted. Those are only adoptions. They were only something you borrowed from what you saw. That could have been education, could have been anything, watching others through lineages and race and color and channels of experiences and so forth that you've adopted. You adopted to have that experience, but that's not you anymore. And that's what you're letting go. So you're discovering the pure you, the true you, the creator you, the spirit you, the source you. That's what you're doing. So this intensity is bringing you back to you and knowing that you are in charge. You're the designer. You're the one that's going to direct everything. It doesn't matter what's being pushed on you. Doesn't matter what is being projected on you. Doesn't matter what anybody says to you. You're the one that decides. Not as somebody to fight anything, but as, no, not interested. And you shape it accordingly. That's the beauty of it. So that's what the incoming intensities are, because a lot of us, what's happening right now, without these intensities, we fall asleep. We kind of go with the flow and the wave. And when I say flow of whatever is being projected, oh, we're going to wait for the next change so that we can go in there. But the intensities, because a lot of people say, why don't we just wipe out everything and just go to that new world? We are in the new world, but we're not experiencing it yet. At least more and more of it every day is coming to the surface. We're bringing it up, but we're the one that's unpacking it through us. But at the same time, why don't we just go to this nirvana, this world that, was originally designed? Well, the thing is, we've been so caught up in the old world. How are we going to project it unless we get pushed to the max to let go of the old world? Let it go from within us. That's why it's so important to let go of every old version of you, period. Every story, emotional charges, every little definitions, labels, and so forth that you've applied to yourself up to this point in time. Because all of that stuff was from the old world, the inverted world. That's what it's from. So this is the thing, to become more of you. More of you. Okay, so many of us, we are facing so-called challenges. Just a few challenges in our internal and external world, because we have two worlds. We have a world inside and a world external. The world inside is our operating system. We have the ego, we have our super or higher superconscious, or what we can call our higher selves. We have our innate consciousness of our body, and we have our human entity. Okay? All of it is an offering. That's your inside world. How you experience the world, how you see the world, what you have. Then, of course, on top of that, we have the colorification that's going in, the colorification of ego, but emotions. So the emotions create a charge. And we've made emotions so real, so powerful, that it actually dictates us, runs us. Great experience, opportunity, but we're done with that. So this is the thing. So what's happening? We're having that internal world in turmoil too. It is being stimulated. It is being rocked. It is being shaken. It's doing every part so that you actually go through the process, and that's what we're doing, of purging out, letting go, letting be, by dissolving all versions of you. Any attachments to your stories, programs, and beliefs, but emotional charges, what shouldn't or shouldn't be, even the ideas that you should or shouldn't have been something, doesn't matter. All of that is purging out. Now, some of us have attached ourselves to our stories, labels and definitions, as who we are, that we're afraid to let it go. We're afraid for it no longer being there and changing to the saying, I don't know who I am now. So we hang on to it. But look at what's happening. That's all getting challenged. That is becoming so unstable, so pushed to let it go. Let it free, so that you discover you. You discover the grandness that you are. It's not outside of you. This is the first level that we are, as a challenge we're going through, is the internal world. Internal world. The world that we're feeling inside. Some people say, I feel like I'm going crazy. Nothing makes sense anymore. I feel hopeless. I feel all of this stuff, wherever we're feeling emotionally. That's your inside world. That's your inner world that is being rocked. For what? To bring forth the true you. And that's what's happening. And you've chosen. Each one of us agreed and continuously updates how fast, how hard you push things so that you can move forward in a big way. We're in charge. Now, of course, you could say, well, my highest self is actually pushing even harder than I want. Because, yeah, you have two parts. The ego is saying, oh, no, we hold on to the old world. That's our old world. We go slowly. We have to kind of get our sea legs. We have to go one step at a time. We're not going to go crazy here. We're not going to keep moving at the same pace. Your highest self saying, no. We're moving forward no matter what, because that's why we're here. This is what we came here to do. And this is the next level that we're going in. We didn't come here just to kind of get caught up in that. Yeah, we had that experience. We've been on that journey. We're on the next level now. We're bringing forth something on supercharged state. And that's what we're doing. So yes, you're going to have that. So you have the part that's trying to hold back, and there's the part pushing you along. So your highest self is pushing to keep going, keep moving, and bring it to next levels. And you got the ones dragging along, which is your ego saying, no. Because the thing is, the ego is also programmed by the collective. It's also part of that inverted world, and it doesn't want to let it go. So that's that's the internal world. Then we're also seeing the external world, the soul challenge. Look at that. All the stuff that's being projected, played out, all the stories, narratives, all of that stuff coming to the surface like no tomorrow. We've never seen the amount of unpacking, the amount of projection, the amount of polarity in the last 10,000 years. And you think every month, every year, every day is going to be the max, but we bring it to the next level. And we're going to unpack that a little bit more. We're going to look at it a little more. But at the same time, Look at all that's coming up. Very, very powerfully, the external world is kind of showing you that it's time for change. It's no longer stable. Why is it not stable? Because we're changing, first of all. Second of all, Gaia, planet, and so forth, saying, hey, we're ready to ramp this up. Our solar system and everything is also here to ramp us up and kind of move things forward. So guess what? It's going to look chaotic. And we have more to go before anything else shifts. But we'll play with that. All right. So we're struggling with what? What are we struggling? What we have accepted as a way of life. Many of us accepted a way of life of what we've been projecting all this time, what we've been living all this time. This is the way of life. How many times have we said to ourselves, this is the way of life? This is how we play the game. Look, everybody else is doing it. Look, everybody else is telling me how to do it. So we're struggling with that, the way of life that we adopted. And of course it varies depending on where you are, who you are, and when I say who, your gender, your culture, your upbringing, what part of the world you're in and so forth. We all have different ways of life, but we've adopted those ideas. We adopted the idea of our way of life. And the ego loves the way of life, wants to hold on to the old way of life. So that's the first part of the challenge. What we've accepted, and we've all accepted a certain way of life. Accepted, this is how the game is. This is how it's played. This is where we function. This is how it's done. Look, if we don't, we'll fall behind. If we don't, we won't be the same. If we don't, we failed. Illusionary ideas. So that's the first part we're struggling at. Of course, our upbringing, how we were brought up, how we were conditioned, how we were programmed, how we were believed that that's the way of life. So your culture, your gender, your whatever part of the world that you came from and so forth are all coming up as a way of your upbringing. This is how it's done in our culture, in our way of life. And then of course it's segmented in all different areas. Gender and certain cycles of life and so forth, all of that. So the upbringing, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, who to follow, who not to follow, what has been tradition and so forth, all of that is all in your upbringing. We also, what we've learned in our life. What we have learned. We've learned a lot of stuff. What do we learn? What we've seen in the world? Through the media, through education, through other people teaching you, through family, through observing others in their way of life, observing what the culture may represent in whatever country that you're in. So we're looking at also what we've learned in our life. We've learned to act this way, think this way, feel this way, respond this way, and go down this path in this particular way. So that's being challenged too. So we're experiencing that. And then of course, what is being projected constantly and intensifying more and more. What do I mean by constantly projected? Look at all the resources coming in, not only from others, from all of the different inputs, through media, through different educational system or whatever else, including what others are saying to each other, what is being projected. And lots of it is projected. But you have to understand, all projection is up to us to accept. But many of us have adopted these projections, have been following these projections. So now that's being challenged. It's being challenged within you. It's being challenged in the way you're seeing things because it doesn't resonate with you. So what is all of this? All of this is being challenged what you know to be true from within. All of us know within what is true. True to you. What makes sense, not from logic, but consciousness. with logic. What feels right to you? What feels in alignment is a better word instead of right. What feels aligned for you? What you are ready to play with? What you are ready to experience in? What actually makes total alignment, sense, and feels perfect for you? And that is it. We've known for the longest time, right from entry point in many cases, that the life we were living is temporary. The life we've been living is an illusionary part that we're adopting just to get an idea of how it feels and how you can experience it. But guess what? We always knew that was not the way of life. That was not how things actually work. You knew inside there was more. Not only more of what we can experience and play, but more within you. More of you to be unpacked, to be experienced. So that knowing, that conscious knowing, is pushing and blowing up and expanding so powerfully that it is all of this other stuff that you have here is being totally challenged. It's shaking it up. It's crumbling it. It's dissolving it. It's showing you the illusionary part of it, which served, but no longer serves now. That's the beauty of it. So, all of this, what you know to be true within you, is what's coming. So the thing is, the moment you start to be true to you more and more, all the other stuff doesn't matter. All the other stuff starts to disappear. It doesn't even come up into your consciousness. It doesn't even become a challenge anymore because it's not there. That's what happens. That's how it changes when you go along. So the thing is, what you know to be true within now is bringing up the true you. That means you're no longer playing the old game. You're no longer doing whatever, like the career or playing that particular role or engaging with certain people anymore just because we've adopted all of that. You're now seeing what is you. Now you're doing what you feel true to you. Whatever those gifts, whatever those offerings are, whatever those expressions are, whatever those the gift that you're bringing to the world is coming to the surface. Because that true you matches the true world that we're stepping into, which was the original design in the first place. You came already implanted knowing how that world looks. This is why you use your imagination, your creativity, because you're tuning into that, but you're upgrading it at the same time. And that's what you're doing. Okay. So, in a way, is there any better way to bring up more of your true self to the surface and direct life accordingly? Right now, with all the restrictions and all of that so-called conditioning that we dived into, we've kind of lost that part of us. So with all of this intensity that we've been having that's bringing up to the surface, what better way is to awaken you, to bring you up, to bring you to the surface, so that you are the director, you are the designer, you are the navigator and the driver at the same time. It's not driven from outside. It's not driven from others. It's you. So all of this that's crumbling, everything that's pushing you so hard right now, with this whole pushing so that that true you coming in is to put you back exactly where you have already agreed to do so before even coming here. You knew what you wanted to do. You knew that you were going to have that opportunity. And now you're taking the opportunity. And that's what you're doing. You were going to say something?
Just wondering, there's a couple of questions in regards to what you're talking about. Do you want to wait till the end, or
It depends what the questions are.
Well, there one's about. I'd love to hear more about primal fear of things like food shortage, needing shot for medical, having eye surgery in a few weeks, and just saw a local hospital require shot by the end of September. Address the upcoming blackouts, food shortages, vax passes, military stuff, economic crash.
All the fun
stuff, and then challenges like I don't know if you want.
No, we'll do those ones later.
We'll do them later. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Just checking.
Okay. Yes, because I'm going to cover some of those anyways as we're going along.
Amazing.
There is no denying that things are seemingly getting more intense and insane at the same time. Definitely more insane. Some of the things that Kimberly just said right now, with what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what others are projecting. So more of that is coming to the surface. So the intensity is increasing and insane at the same time, meaning that it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even fit in how things actually work. And we're noticing it. Even the role players, the ones that are so-called fictional authority figures, fictional leadership, fictional expertise and so forth are breaking down into scenes. You start to notice that they are so nonsensical. They do not share anything that even resonates with you or anything of that nature. Of course, you're going to feel fear and all that stuff and you want to panic or whatever. But that's the thing, is that by recognizing that, that's your ego getting all excited, getting all wrapped up so that you can get caught up in there. So it's looking more and more insane, but it's getting more and more intense on two ways. And I said that right at the beginning. The intensities of the energies coming in, the intensities of the changes we're going in, the intensities of the way things are breaking down, but also the intensity of the accentuation of polarity, the accentuation of good and bad and right and wrong and whatever that, but also dark and light and victim, victimizer, and so forth. All of that is coming to the surface so that we actually see it more and more, so that we cannot deny it. We can no longer look at it and say, well, it doesn't exist or anything of that nature. You're seeing it in a much more powerful way than ever before. And guess what happens as you're seeing it much more powerful than ever before? You actually can say, oh, okay, I see it. Now that's work at progressing and changing this at this point in time, so that you're not just sitting there and say, okay, I'm governed by this, I'm controlled by this, and I have no say in the matter. So yes, there's no denying. You can't, like Kimberly was just saying right now with some of the questions that came in, there's no denying things are getting more and more intense. More and more push, more and more restrictions, more and more idea that we're taking the freedom away. But look at the same time. Look at what's happening all over the world. How many people are coming together and saying, no, we do not support this. We do not support this rule. We do not support these restrictions. We do not play here anymore. You're not going to tell us how to live our life. You never had the right, and you never will, because we're all free spirit. We're all free agent. We are all playing together freely to be ourselves. So you see around the world how many people have chosen not to cooperate, no longer to support that. And it's more and more that's coming to the surface because of the fact that it's getting more insane. It's getting more intense. And people are saying, enough. What's coming up? Their true self, their self-empowered state is coming up, saying, hey, I'm not a victim. I am not here to be told how to live my life, how to experience life, or anything of that nature. I'm here to be me. And that's what people are realizing. So all of that is changing at this point in time for that reason. So the intensity and sanity is the best part of it all, because that's pushing us even harder. Many people have been so caught up, and I'm saying maybe not you so much listening to this at this point in time, or may have been in that position before, but how many of you have noticed others around you, because of the intensities and the stronger push and the more insanity that is being projected, that now they're starting to shift. Now they're starting to awaken. Now they're saying, hey, okay, something doesn't make sense here. We're not going down that path anymore, and we're not going to play with all of this stuff the way we were playing before. We're done with this. And that's what's happening. So, who's doing it? We are. We are. Believe it or not, even though the role players around us are doing whatever they're doing, we are pushing ourselves. Because unless you agree to engage, unless you agree to participate, unless you agree to be pushed around, or what looks like pushed around, it doesn't happen. Projections are projections. The thing is, the moment you shift away from that, they don't even see you. You're at a completely different channel. You're in different frequency altogether, so they're not going to be seen. So we are pushing ourselves to bring forth our true selves. We are pushing ourselves to bring our true selves. We have not been living our true self up to this point in time. And there's a purpose behind that. You say, well, I wanted to experience what the playground was like. I wanted to see what the restrictions are. I wanted to play under many rules, many restrictions, many boxes. This way of life, that way of life, and so forth. And many of you have chosen to be taking on a physicality with certain life streams, certain parents, certain cultures, certain parts of the world, and so forth, so that you can have that very specific experience. But that was just then. Now we're pushing ourselves to bring forth our true self, the true you, the you that doesn't have any relationship with any of those stories, any of those programs, any of those beliefs, any of those ideas, adopted or otherwise, no longer by labels, definitions, or anything of that nature, and no restrictions. Because we are here to take an active role in transforming our human experience. You know how many people say, well, this is human nature? Untrue. We have not been living true human nature across the board. Maybe little snippets here and there. True human nature is not what we've been playing. Not at all. So we're transforming the human experience to bring it to its original design and way above it, because we've evolved over the last 15,000 years. Because that's how long we've been around in these physicalities, in this playground. I know we had a modification 10,000 years ago, yes, to kind of put everything in reverse. But our human nature has not really truly been experienced. However, human nature does not have fear, does not have survival, does not have lack, does not create wars, strife, taking advantage of each other, wanting to be better than the next. No, you're here to be you. There's no judgment, no ideas of categorizing this or that, any fictional authorities or fictional hierarchies or anything of that nature, or your stance or your whoever because of where you came from or what you did or what blood you have in your system. None of that matters. None of it matters. So we are bringing forth the true human experience in all its upgrades. So we're transforming our human experience to bring it to its true design and the playground we call Earth. What we've been experiencing on the playground on Earth hasn't been in its true nature for 10,000 years. We're unpacking it. First of all, we're bringing it back, and it's already projecting organic 3D and 5D and openness to go all the way to 12. As part of our consciousness, I think we're going to be stopping at 10 or 9 or 10, only because then we start losing the capacity to experience form in the same way. And planet Earth, unless we bring it up to that point where we don't want to have any relationship to any form and just operate in a light body, that's a whole different story. But till then, we're choosing to experience ourselves in bodies, choose ourselves to experience ourselves in what we call physical representation. So we are pushing ourselves to bring forth our true self and take an active role. Take an active role. And this is why you are interested in developing and discovering and accessing yourself, because you want to take an active role. You're what people call learning, but you're remembering, you're tapping into what you already know within yourself. So we're just all sharing what we already know. Maybe it's got buried so deeply that until it gets, stimulated and brought to the surface, you think it's not there, but it's there. You know that. Most certainly, the energies coming in at times can feel like we're being pushed over the edge. Really? Mm-hmm. Yes. How many of us, every time we have another strong wave coming along, which is coming in again in a couple of weeks or less, we have a new wave coming in, but at the same time, how many times have you been at the edge? Feeling like, oh my God, I can't handle this anymore. I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna fall apart. I'm gonna lose myself. But every time we're pushed to the edge, guess what? It's not that we become more tolerant. We unpack more of us. We see how powerful we are. We get more and more access of that. We get to know ourselves. We get to see another part of ourselves that kind of been put away. That's what's happening as we're going through. So we're pushed what looks like over the edge. And right now, we really ramped this up, especially with what was said with those questions, which we're going to play with. The fact that all this stuff is being introduced, we're pushing to the edge. It's like, how far can we go? How restricted can we be? How crazy can we be? How much do we have to go into, the old way of survival and struggle and so forth? But it's not only that. Emotions, physical expressions and experiences, old wounds, old pains, old symptoms. Our mind, how many of us are feeling like we're going crazy? We're losing it. That's the intensity I'm talking about. Do we go over the edge? Well, some will, yes. Because they really wanted to. And they weren't up to the task for the rest of it. But notice what unfolds each time within you and your view of the world. Each time we're pushed to the edge, what unpacks? What unfolds? What do you see about you? We're not talking resilient. You're discovering resources. You're discovering you. Because what's getting pushed? What is being challenged? What is being intensified to be let go, release? It's old you, never the real you. So every time you push to the edge, when you think you're crazy, you tune in more. You connect more. Maybe there's a little bridge in between where it just goes totally crazy, and that's great too, but then guess what? You start to tap inside, you start to spend more time to connect with yourself, and you also notice that more of your wisdom, consciousness, access, resources, and so forth are coming through you. So every time, and guess what? The view of the world changes. How does it change? You get to see what it is. It's a game. It's a projection. It's an offering. It's up to us what we do with it. It's always been up to us what we do with it. How far do we engage? Who we play with? What we play with? What do we do and don't do? All of that is all part and parcel of it. That's the thing. So our view changes. But what changes? It's you that's changing. So your eyesight changes. But not eyesight as we know it. How you remove filters, you get to see the game. You get to choose how you want to participate the game. The game is no longer restricted. You notice that the game shapes around you as you go through that. So your view of the world, what seems so restrictive, what seems like the end game, changes. Right, Kimberly?
That's correct, dear.
Of course. You know exactly.
You really realize just how much strength you have when you're put in those positions, that you come out of it stronger every time. And I mean, It just builds on your own foundation.
Absolutely. You're right. We have such powerful strength. We have such powerful capability. We have so much within ourselves that can really shape things that we're just discovering. Many of us have started to discover just recently. Some others have discovered it a little while ago, and others are discovering, discovered it, what do you call it, a very long time. But the thing is, those discoveries keep opening up even further. So we get to see more and more as we're going along. So, how long before the next shift? This is the question people ask. How long before we get out of this craziness? Look, they're pushing things harder. They are now telling us if we don't do this, we don't have the freedom. How long is this going to go? How long is this going to be insane? How long do we have to be in fear or survival? Well, that's up to you. But we've agreed to get so much more done in 1.5 years by the end of 2022. We've decided to get this craziness intensified, pushed us so that we emerge from ourselves, and the ones that cannot will leave, and also make openings for other drop-ins or whatever is going to play out at that point in time. So, is it going to get more colorful? Absolutely. How far we get lost in it will depend on us. How quickly we let go of all of that stuff that we're doing. Because the thing is, at the moment we start seeing that the game is just a game and that it doesn't have to dictate your life, you become more empowered, and then the craziness becomes an entertainment. It's an observation. It is no longer driving you. Yeah, maybe you'll have to use some creativity, how to manage and play with it because there's others involved. But at the same time, guess what? You're free to navigate. You get to discover that part of it. So we are saying that within the 1.5 years, by the end of 2022, we want to accomplish, and again, this is the intent, this is the mapping out, the projection that we've done to get rid of, finish off within ourselves and the collective and all of that inverted matrix that we still have within our operating system, letting go of all of those other versions of ourselves and so forth. So basically that we are fully going into 2023. That's the intent, and I say intent because that's what we're pushing for. And because there's such levels of resistance, this is why the intensity, the volume is being increased so that by the time we enter here, we're either organic 3D or organic 5D for whatever we choose to experience without no longer reflecting, reverting to that inverted matrix, inverted 3D, inverted 2D that we've been living up to this point in time. So that means by the end of 2022, going into 23, we want to take out of commission that so-called ego, out of commission, clearing out all of those old versions, labels, definitions of ourselves, all our old stories, emotional charges that may have reflected to the old inverted world and inverted way of life, all of those barriers and boxes and so forth that we've restricted ourselves from the old design. That's the intent. Because of that intent on a collective scale, and also to push certain people to play out a certain role and choose that they're going to participate 100% or exit, because the option is there, and you can exit any time, even after into 2023. But at this point in time, depending how locked up you are, at that point you may leave way before that. But the point is, this is the point that I'm trying to make here, is that when we're going through that, we want to be playing at a completely different level, entering into 2023. Now, 2023 is going to be interesting too, because at that point in time, we're still getting our, our feet, ingrained, and we may still be a little confused and so forth, because a lot of the collective may just push it right to the end before they're able to shift. And then there's also the swapping that goes on, which say other souls and whatever else that are coming in, taking on the bodies, that so forth, especially the extras or the ones that choose to leave, that do not leave as a physical form, that you're kind of getting accustomed. So 2023 will have other adjustments, but will it still have the main polarities that we have had? No, that's not the intent, and that's something to understand. The intent is not to support that any longer. So we want to be wrapped up with that, finished with that part of it, and that's what's going on. And again, I say these things from what I'm seeing, from what is mapped out, what has been agreed from a collective perspective, but again, you take what resonates with you and you play to your degree. Because some of people will think around and say, well, that's not going to happen because it's going to be many, many years later or whatever it is. That's okay. That's the experience they want to have. They can have whatever their experience is. But collectively, that's our intent. That's what we're moving for. We don't see any, and when I say we, many of us that are choosing to look at this, to delay it any longer. Because it's like, okay, we're going to have to put a cutoff point. And that's what the cutoff point is all about. All right. So how long? Well, you know now. Okay. I should have said the V versus non-V.
Quickly,
Yes.
Terry's asking, how can we quicken this process before the end of 2022? Can we?
Well, we are already pushing it, so it doesn't mean that the intent is to have it wrapped up by them. Doesn't mean we can't wrap it up further. Now, how you can do it personally and how you can do it collectively, it's really how quickly can you clear out all of that old version of you, all of your labels, definitions, and so forth, and all of your focus on the world as it's being projected, the craziness. So if you're looking at the media every day and checking on what's going on and still immersing yourself with all of this and waiting for certain changes, that's going to slow down the process. Because now we're gauging on something that is delayed and is also designed to do something different. And it's not about that. So the point is, we want to get the thing that's going to move it quicker is to connect with yourself and see the world. Doesn't matter what you see. Doesn't matter what's projected. You choose how to experience. Now, you may have to engage in some of it, but you're not giving it power. You're not engaging in the sense of feeling, I got to do this, I got to follow that, or whatever it is. You're just now looking at. So you're not going to put all your energy and focus. Because the moment you sit down and watch the mainstream media, your frequency drops. Your dial of your own frequency, you have a range, you're not going to go below it, but you're going to drop your range and your vibration will change because it can trigger emotions, it can trigger all the stories, which is beneficial in a way too if you still have a lot of that. But at the same time, it's going to alter you, it's going to change things. Just pay attention to it. Pay attention to how you feel when you're exposed to all of that. And it's not so much the exposing, because that plays a big part of it, but the next part of it, how much do you make it real in you? How much does it actually impact you? Now, some of the impact will help you purge and recognize that there's still attention to that, and others will not. So look at it this way. We have been bombarded by higher frequencies, higher vibrational frequencies, but at the same time, we also have a lot of the older stuff, a lot of the older polarized, a lot of the lower frequencies that are being directed constantly. So people say, well, how can I not be affected by all of this so-called toxicity? Emotional toxicity, chemical toxicity, and of all forms, okay, including whatever we've been jabicated by. But at the same time, how do we not get affected by that? By having your vibration at its peak, or your frequency at its peak, and then allowing your vibration to constantly stay at the high end and keep going up, because the vibration, that point, then that doesn't have the effect anymore because you're getting outside of its range. Okay, so it doesn't have it. So can we speed it up? Yes, it's as quickly as you're shifting yourself and others collectively. Doesn't mean that every single person has to be there. Clusters of people along the way, as we're all doing, is scattered all over the world. We're already changing it. This is why you're seeing a lot more people awakening. That's why you're seeing a lot more people saying enough is enough. That's why we're seeing a lot more people are choosing not to follow the narratives, not to follow the stories being projected, no longer to follow these so-called experts, so-called rulers, so-called authorities, so-called what do you call it? I lost the word now. But anyways, so-called idea that somehow they know better. So, there's that playing out. The none and the ones. Look at how it's set up. You got the ones that are calling the ones that are not killers. They're calling them as insane. You're jeopardizing, and so forth. Those are part of the conflict, part of that game. But it's up to us. Are we going to play the game? Are we going to get lost in it? Hey, somebody wants to be? Fine, fantastic, have fun, go and play and do whatever you experience. It's yours. It has nothing to do with you. Because you're not playing the polarity game. Right, wrong, good, bad. Who is and who isn't. Who's safe, who's not. Who's dangerous, and so forth. Or the fact that what restrictions are imposed, or what piece of paper says that you're qualified, or because you're approved. That is all BS. Short form. It's just BS. It's just being presented to you. Hey, let's play this game this way. And you say, yeah, thank you for the game. I'm not interested. Not at all. Been there, done that, not even going there. Guess what? When you're rock solid, there's no conflicts. They don't even question. They don't say anything. Have you been vaxxed? Have you been V'd? Jabbed? Or whatever? What is it for you to know? And I don't hide it. And I'll say whatever I have to say. No, but I have no interest in it. I'm not going to get into conspiracies. I'm not going to say whatever. Why not? Because it does not resonate for me. Because it does not feel like something that I want to put into my body. Because I am my own designer. I'm the only one that decides if I go one way or another. It is me. Because I'm a free spirit. I'm a sovereign being. As you are. You made a choice to go there? Great. I choose not. And if somebody says, well, you're endangering other people's lives, I go, whose? The none? We're all in the same boat. And the ones that are, you guys are all in the same boat. No problem. If you received what you received, then you're protected. That's what you believe. Go play with it. Have fun. But that's it. But the thing is, because you're rock solid and you don't even give it any consideration, it doesn't even come up. Nobody even asks. They don't. It's rare you may hear it. Just to kind of play with you. That's it. You were going to say something.
Well, Geraldine's asking, since you're talking about that jabicated thing.
Yep.
Is there any hope if I got half a jabicated and I came under severe mental pressure from others in the medical care combined with the few contacts I have? I now have side effects of getting one half of the experimental procedure. I also shared transport with others occasionally. I was vulnerable and gave in to take one of the 2 shot. Wonder what now?
Well, it decides. If you put a lot of fear into it and if you give it a lot of power, it's going to play out. But at the same time, look at the thing that you did. You gave in to pressure and so forth. Those were offerings. Those were people saying, hey, you need this, because you weren't rock solid yet. And then when I say rock solid, it's not like, no, this is what I'm doing. No, no interest whatsoever. I'm not interested. It's my experience. So this was an opportunity to show that you weren't rock solid yet. That's all. Now, how much impact it's going to have? It's going to give you the impact that you require until you become empowered, where it's like, okay, it's in my system, but I'm going to now communicate with my body and say, time to purge it all out completely. And that's it. And the energy's coming in and so forth, because you're making a decision, a rock solid decision, that not through fear, that I don't want this because I'm afraid of it. It's because, no, it does not serve me. I am no longer requiring this. And it doesn't matter if you're in the medical system, and it doesn't matter if you have peer pressure, whatever it is. It's like, yeah, right, we're not going to even go there. But, you know, you don't even have to do it in that way and say, hey, you guys do whatever you like. I'm not doing it. That's it. But now you know you're having your side effects, you're having your experience and whatever else, and it's saying, okay, you know something? I gave in, and now I'm receiving these experiences. But now I'm deciding, not only do I need to experience, I'm not even interested in any other experimental stuff or jabbications or whatever. I'm not going to support it. But now, moving forward, you're now rock solid, much more rock solid. Not because of fear, and that could be the original start, but it's like, no, I now know for sure this is not what resonates for me. This is not what I'm going to introduce in my body and so forth. And because you've had the half, at this point it may play out until you get... And the thing is, you have to understand, some of the stuff that you're experiencing may be for others in your family life. You know, others that are in disbelief, others that are saying whatever, and say, well, you know what, you guys put the pressure, now look at where I'm at. I'm not. That's it. Now it makes you even stronger, and it also impacts others saying, oh, that's what you had, well, I'm not interested either then, or whatever it is. So there's a couple of roles that are played out with that. Did you have to say something else?
Further on that question, will vulnerable people who give in to the pressure get any spiritual support to ascend, or does, she's put, my soul, no. I got a message in December 2019 about virus and to prepare for my return. So say there's lots of spiritual awake people, but they're feeling so much pressure and they still get at least one jabbercated. Is there support for them down the road?
Yes, yes. If a self-realization of that sort coming in and saying, okay, you know, I fell in, I got convinced, I did not follow my own inner guidance, okay, and I went down that path, great, I'll be the example for others. But at the same time, at this point, if you're still choosing to evolve, choosing to be an influential factor, then energetically down the road, it will negate and turn it off. But you're basically going to tap into it. You're the one that turns it on and off and so forth. Not everybody's interested in that. Very few are, and the ones that are will be able to reverse any part of it at this point in time. I know in the dealings I've had with the beings that I've worked with, they said at some point they are going to introduce energetic, powerful spectrum of waves and frequencies that will negate it. But the thing is, it's projected, and it's up to each individual to turn it on and turn it off. Now, if you've gone through 2 and then 3, it's going to, maybe not. I don't know at this point in time, because if you've gone that far, that means you really don't have the interest, to evolve. But the thing is, I needed that nudge, I needed that reminder and so forth, because I've seen people that have had negative reactions from the first and now schedule the second, thinking that, okay, I still have to do it, it's worth it, or whatever it is. But then where are they at, consciously and otherwise? Are they listening to this? No. Are they, connecting with themselves? No. A lot of them are going from somewhat active, going to non-active, going to being extras or whatever, So it's up to each individual. So in your case, in preparation is preparation of saying, hey, I'm still in control here. Because a lot of the stuff that's being projected is not real. Okay? To the degree it's been presented, it's not real. I will talk about it in another episode a little bit more about what is the truth. But at the same time, at this point, a lot of that is projected is just that, an illusionary projection to make it look like it's a certain way and your only way out is this way, or the only safety is this way, the only way to survive is this way, or that the fact that this thing is going to wipe out humanity or whatever is being projected. Does it exist? A certain part? Absolutely. Was it fabricated? Absolutely. Is the hype super activated and super illusionary projected? Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not saying, you go with your own saying. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just sharing. That's all. Great divide of sorts. Look at the divide we're feeling. Of all types. There's divides even among people that are going through the awakening process. Judgment, whatever. What is dividing? You got your higher self, or let's call it highest self, versus ego. But the ego and all the invertedness that goes with it inverted world is supporting all this part, so that's the great divide. But it's also the divide by culture, divide by gender, divide by, what's that other thing that they're making a big deal of it? Black, white, whatever. Black Lives Matter? No, it's not that one. Whatever. I think it's culture. I can't think of the name. But anyways, for some reason it never sticks in my head because I guess it's not important. But look, now we're judging each other. If you're a particular skin color, that you're good, bad, right, wrong, or whatever. The biggest farce along, but at the same time, it's creating a divide. Why? To show that we are still comparing, judging one another, to show that who's better than the other, who's racist, yeah, I think that's the word, racist or whatever it is. Why do you think it's being projected in the governments? Why is it being projected? To accentuate divide, accentuate the Ved and non-Ved, the divide and accentuation of the fact of who's righteous, who's dangerous, who's this, who's that. There's divide everywhere. There's divide in family. There's divide in wherever you are engaging with. There's divide within yourself. But the great divide is the unification that we are also achieving. The unification of ourselves. That's what we're doing. What are we doing? We're discovering that it's illusionary. We're all beautiful, powerful beings. It doesn't matter where you come from, where you were born, what color's your skin, what gender you are, any of it. We've all, at one point in life, have had many varieties of experiences. The world was never created. The human species was never created one superior than the other. Never. Different expressions. It's a blend. It's creating a beautiful tapestry. But not a single one is better than the other. Not a single one is privileged over the other. And this whole idea of race, and all of this other stuff that's being put forward. It's just projecting the divide until we say, hey, no more. We're not playing there. Forget it. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
Jenya is asking the divide. We're meant to. Oops, where did it go? Whoop, whoop. Hold on. We're meant to let it happen as opposed to trying to bring us all together with heart. Because I think there's going to be a natural kind of divide that happens, that we will not be able to bring everybody into the one, path or whatever. What do you think?
Well, the so-called, when we say the divide, I mean, we can look at it and say, okay, the other party is the ones that are choosing to be active role players, they're playing active role players. The ones that are no longer active role players, they're still active in a way, because whatever role that they're playing is accentuating or assisting the ones that are active. That's all it is. So the thing is there going to be a divide saying the one that wants to evolve and the one that doesn't? Yes, but they were just two separate channels, and they will no longer be in each other's reality. Do we call that a divide? Yeah, we're going two separate paths, absolutely. But what we're experiencing as divide right now is not only assisting us to discover ourselves, but it's also assisting us to realize that there is no difference. But then it's up to us if we're going to play one role versus another. It's all free as your choice. So in a way, the divide is who wants to play in this playground, who wants to play in that playground. So we have 3 playgrounds right now, all within the one. We just, where we're focusing, we're seeing. We have the inverted world, inverted 3D, 2D. We have the organic 3D, and we have the organic 5D. So yeah, we have 3 different channels. We have 3 different playgrounds. Not one playground's better than the other, but certain playgrounds are becoming obsolete. So in a sense, on this playground, the inverted stuff is obsolete. So it's just being cleared out. So it's just sifting through, removing whatever, because it's like, okay, we know we're here. We know we're only playing for a period of time, then we're going. That's it. And others are going to continue. So the divide is not because good, bad, better. It's a choice that they make. Do I go or not? Do I play or not? Of course, we have weather changes. We hear a lot of that. We see a lot going on. Okay? To understand, looking at the weather, regardless of what's happening, and it doesn't matter if it's Gaia that's doing it, which is only a small percentage, less than a third, the other 2/3 or more is manipulation with the weather system through technologies, satellite technology, HARP technology, whatever it is, doesn't matter, okay? But when you look at the whole scheme of things, regardless how it comes about, it is there serving all the individuals at different, wherever they're located, but also collectively. So the so-called chaos, in a lot of cases, is providing exits, but it's also providing a destabilization of attachments to a way of life or to the fact of bringing people together to support each other. So whatever is required. So you're going to see a lot of that going on. Is it because of, the green thing or whatever it is? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in another episode. But the whole thing about that, or is it really, we're destroying our planet? Gaia laughs at us because, in a sense, we're there to serve and play together and so forth and whatever it is. But at the same time, what is Gaia saying? What is it saying? Hey, I'm here to serve. I'm here to play with you. But at the same time, I can change any part of it. I have to stay true to what is best in this higher level of consciousness of this playground. Because Gaia has a consciousness on its own. It's there to serve the human in its purest form, even though it provided us for that inverted part for a very long time. And it has played out that programming for a period of time. but that's saying, hey, this whole thing about, just to give you an example, where, there's this whole idea that, carbon, 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 we got to remove the carbon because that's warming up our planet and so forth. Yeah, of course, that's the projected idea. Is it really? It's not even a minuscule of a percentage of any effect. But at the same time, carbon is absolutely necessary, or CO, whatever you want to call it. It's absolutely necessary to feed the plant life. The plant life consumes carbon so that it actually produces food and medicine or whatever it is, but it also produces oxygen. You take all the carbon out, plants die, and guess what? You run out of oxygen. But the thing is, it's a beautiful system because we're breathing out carbon. We take in oxygen, we breathe out CO, CO2, whatever you want to call it. We're breathing it out. Why? It's a cycle. But look at it. Gaia says, hey, the nutrients level, because of all the other craziness that you guys are doing, which we call pollution or whatever else, because that's what you want to play with, is depleting the nutrients in the soil or whatever else, and the carbon level is a little low. So guess what? I'll erupt a few volcanoes. And guess what I'm going to put in the air? Nutrients, carbon, CO, whatever you want to call it, so that plants have more nutrients. And the cycle continues. You think it's concerned about you? You think that Gaia is saying, I'm going to be affected by one individual? If it says, hey, enough is enough, it'll take care of it. It does take care of it. Now, that doesn't mean that we do not take responsibility to make the playground beneficial and flourishable for all of us. No, it doesn't mean that, oh, we can do whatever we want. You're going to get your ass kicked, you're going to get it kicked. But what I'm saying is that we're putting a lot of emphasis on that to control more structures, more restrictions, more rules, and whatever else, and to also push us further into the survival mode, which is all fictional anyways. So the weather changes are coming in a different way. Do we have to be afraid of it? No. You will feel where you need to be, when you need to be, and when you need to move, and you'll do whatever it is because whoever's involved will be serving them, and also whatever is required. The Gaia looks at the whole picture. Remember, we're always communicating with it from a superconscious level. We're not maybe consciously aware of it, but it's always saying, hey, I'm here to serve, but at the same time, I'm also here to create an environment that will flourish the highest aspect of yourself. Not the ego version of yourself, not the inverted version of yourself, the highest aspect of yourself. I'm going to experiment here. Let's see if this works. Oh, no, it doesn't. There you go. Possible food shortage and survival. How did that get there? I think you asked the question. That's on people's minds. Yes, they're projecting the idea of food shortages. Are they taking steps? Yes. A lot of the farms are not being allowed to do what they do best. Yes, many more other restrictions coming in. The idea that we have to go into survival, that we have to do whatever. Yes, in some ways, there's going to be some restriction. How far is up to us on a collective scale. And when I say that, is this going to wake us up? Is this going to push us from survival to flourishing, where we take charge, where we are no longer going to take what's being handed to us, but what is so-called fictional authority, fictional experts, fictional hierarchy, whatever it is, telling us what we can or not have, or whatever it is? There's going to be certain areas. We have goods and services, what we call food or whatever it is in that area, that really doesn't serve us. It's more detrimental to us than beneficial for us. So that will change. So certain supply chains will start to change, start to reduce, or whatever it is. But it's up to us collectively, because there's a couple of things that can happen. We can shape how much will come through and what will not come through and what is necessary wherever we are. But at the same time, we also decide, and we have within ourselves, how much consumption we need or not, because we can change what we really need to sustain ourselves. Because all of us have an innate ability to be able to live without food, even though we've been programmed to think that we do, and so forth. And that's part of the reversal process. What we can call breatharian, Stangazer, whatever it is, that's already within ourselves. So, in fact, because it's restricting or whatever it is, we can turn on other faculties to have all of that come in. So it's being projected to create fictional fear, fictional survival, for people to panic, for people whatever. Now, if you choose to maintain certain parts, yes, you want to have seeds, you want to grow things and so forth, but because you're in a position maybe you cannot do it, does it mean that you're going to starve and die? You are the one that decides how you are going to experience it. Each one of us. The only people that are going to go through that survival are the ones that still have that operating in them. So if you have that fear, you still have that within yourself, then you may experience it so that you can get into that empowered state and say, hey, I'm not going to give power to the fear. I'm going to create whatever I need and when I need it, how I need it. But in its purest form, not that I have to be a glutton or that I have to consume all the things I used to consume, because you're going to notice that certain things that we got accustomed to, which was never part of our food chain because it was never really designed for us to consume, starts to deplete and so forth. So we're shifting. But the shifting that we've been experiencing, there's a lot of bridging, but the thing is not in this pure form. Our pure form, of course, is no longer requiring to eat, but at that point in time, it hasn't come to everybody. It's a very small amount of people that are living that experience, but we all have that capability, and all of us can turn it on. I'm not saying that there's not going to be any resources or food or whatever it is, but a lot of it is being projected and so forth, and it is artificially stimulated. But as I said, it's so that we put value in what really we need to consume, how much we need to consume, and how much stuff we give power to in the sense of food or whatever it is. So there is possible restriction, but do you have to starve? Do you need to go in survival mode? That's up to you. It's up to you if you're going to experience that. It's up to you that you're going to give it power. It's up to you that you're going to situate yourself so that you have that experience. It's really up to you. Now, collectively, we are going through changes in that. But collectively, we decide. It doesn't matter who the authority is. It doesn't matter the Gates or whoever owns a lot of farmland and making sure that the food's not being grown. This has been happening for a very long time. Why do we have countries that are in starvation? That's all fabricated. Yeah, of course, the people that choose to go there want to have that experience, but that's changing too. But it's all fabricated. Do we have capacities, technologies, and capabilities to feed everybody? Absolutely. In the way that we're doing it? No. That's not the way it's supposed to be. That's not the way it actually works. But lack is all fictional. All of it is illusionary projections in that inverted world where we needed to project fear, separation, survival, where you had to struggle, where you had to compete, where you had to kill each other, we had to, take advantage of each other. That was all in that inverted world. That's all the stuff that's going on. So, do we need to experience it? That's entirely up to you. Will part of it show up? Yes, it's already starting to show up. But how powerful it's going to be? Is it going to put you in a position where you cannot flourish? That's up to you, and it really doesn't have to. Of course, we have increase in nonsense. Nonsense meaning no sense. How many things you're hearing? How many things are being projected? How many things are really, really just being accentuated. The danger of this horrible thing that's coming along that can kill people, and that if you don't get jabbicated and once, twice, and now looking at 3 times, and then every 6 months or every year or whatever it is, that this thing is going to wipe you out, kill you, whatever it is. Tremendous amount of accentuation. Fictional? Absolutely. But look at that. People are seeing the nonsense. The nonsense of being locked up. The nonsense of being masked and shielded, staying away from each other. The great divide is, you can't hug anybody. You can't even be in gatherings. Of course, now that's opening up to a certain degree, but there's all these new restrictions coming in. Like, look at the nonsense that is being projected. Who are we? We have a powerful physicality. We have a powerful innate ability. We have an immune system, whatever you want to call it, that can deal with anything and everything. The only reason you're going to use it as an exit out or a very intensified is because you chose to have that experience, or the fact that you've chosen to partake or pack your bags and leave without packing any bags, of course. But that is a choice that you make. Creating more separation, that now we have to see each other on a screen. Yeah, some of it you have to do like you're doing now. Why? Because we're scattered all over the world, and that's not possible to travel everywhere all the time. But to have gatherings, to be with loved ones, family, to be with friends, to be in like-minded people, being involved in events and things of that nature. That's our natural state. We came here to play together. We came here to connect with one another. Touch is so amazing, hugging and so forth. Of course, now we create all these divides of that touch has to be sexual, or it has to be right, wrong, good, bad, which is total nonsense. And when I say nonsense is that we can be affectionate to people without taking advantage of people, without violating anything of that nature. That's all projection and programmed and conditioned. The fact is, so the nonsense is, we got to be afraid of something. We got to be afraid of each other. We got to be afraid of shortage and so forth. When we have abundance, but at the same time, we also have the capability to shape anything and everything. Do you think we have energy resource restrictions? Absolutely not. I'm not even using the old methods. We have technologies to supersede that. We have technologies no longer to cut trees and have paper, to have wood, or what we not call wood, but in case building materials and so forth, that are much more superior than cutting down trees and so forth, that we don't have to have all of this other resources where we're digging into the earth and taking out all these minerals and so forth and saying, well, okay, we need to have this because first it means something, second of all, this is only building material. We have technologies to build very clean, without raping, which we call raping, just as an understanding, planet Earth. How much gold is dug out just for the fact that we have put a fictional price or fictional value to gold or any other resources? If there are certain minerals that are required for some part of technologies and so forth, you just bring that much. How much are being hoarded? How much of it is stored with this idea that it's worth the value of the country, value of whatever? Fictional, fictional, fictional. I will cover more of that in another episode. But it's all fictional. But we have the technologies not only to liberate our enslavement, to fine-tune our capacities to flourish, to have whatever resources we have in the most advanced way rather than the old ways, no longer contaminating water, air, soil, ourselves. We have all of that available at our disposal. Oh, we want to reduce greenhouse gases, so we're going to punish you. But anything of newer technology, and I'm not talking about solar or wind or anything of that nature, there's way more advanced stuff that is not requiring to plaster all this stuff all over the world that we're not allowing to come through. So if there was true intention true focus of creating a clean environment, you would not restrict it. And don't think it's because of money. That is a carrot that is being used to, because that's fictional too. But we'll play with that another time. But at the same time, so this whole thing, you see how much increasing in nonsense has been increasing. So many of us are concerned of infrastructures falling apart. The systems that we relied on, what protected us, what held us up, what I'm accustomed to, what is required to take me from A to B or to protect my health, the infrastructures that are created where, we're safe. It's all falling apart. The infrastructures that tell us what to do and how to do it. The infrastructures that have taught us how to live life. They're falling apart. Why? They're falling apart because they're old, they don't fit with us, the new us, the part that we're unpacking. The only reason we're going to feel the infrastructure failing and being in survival mode or in fear mode is because we create a dependency. So we lean ourselves independent. Because what we really need, we will bring into line. What we really need, not what we were convinced that we need. Not that we created a falsified idea that you need it, and that if it's not there, that you cannot flourish. If it's not there, you can't benefit. If it's not there, you don't survive. Being to take something or follow specific rules to get freedom. How many of us have been hearing it? You got to get jobicated. You have to have a passport because you got jobicated, or the fact that somehow you can't have freedom because of this so-called C thing that's going around, and many other ones that they'll come up with, other versions and other strains and other whatever, which is most of it. All of it is all fictional anyways. But I'm just saying, you guys do whatever you want to take. So taking something, being jobicated, following specific rules to get freedom. If you don't do that, you can't have freedom. You can't go in restaurants anymore. You can't go to ballparks. You can't have fun. You can't even get to have gatherings. You cannot do this or that. They'll introduce more of it. Eventually you get to the point and say, you know something? Go fly a kite. We're not giving any power to this. We have freedom. We decide.
Me too as well. If people are being mandated to get jobicated for their job, or like one lady put to go to the hospital, you say, nope, not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not interested and so forth. I came here for the surgery. I'm going to get the surgery. Stay away with that other stuff. I'm approving how much I get and don't get. And the same thing with the job. I've seen people where they've said no, and then they made allowance. Others said no, and they got let go. So they collect whatever else, and now they decide what else they want to do, because they'll find some place that's going to serve them, or they're going to create something of themselves temporarily until that is a requirement where you have to go to work or whatever it is. But the same thing is, you decide on what's more valuable. Holding on to something, yes, you may say, well, I need the resources to survive. But at the same time, remember, you are a powerful being. You are the one that decides what you need and don't need and how you need it and so forth. So you're the one that can turn on and off any part of it. It's not limited. It's an illusionary limit. Okay? So you decide. That's why I said you'd be rock solid. In the last episode, be you, true you, no matter what. If true you says, no, I'm not interested, then you say, not interested. Not interested, not complying. But at the same time, I have an offering here. I can do the job, I can do this, or, I need to have the surgery. Now, Are you going to end up dying because you don't have the surgery? Well, if you need to die, then you will. But you're going to be the one that decides that. Do you need to be afraid? No. You say, hey, we're not going there. That's it. If you can't find that hospital, find another hospital that doesn't have that restriction. Do whatever you need to do. But at the same time, stay true to yourself. Now, if you're open to it, that's up to you. But you make the rules. You make the rules. When you accept the rules that are being presented, you're going into disempowered state. You can say, okay, I'm empowered to accept the rules. There's a truth to that to some degree. But at the same time, say, I'm making the rules. Yeah, I really truly need the surgery. I truly would like to be working here. But I also make the rules that I do not need to comply and get jobicated for me to stay or to be able to follow through with the surgery or anything of that nature. It's a choice you make. It's a choice you make. Now, if you make the choice to go to accept the jobication for whatever reason, that's up to you. But when you get into that empowered, true empowered state, they'll move out of the way. They don't have to push it because you've already decided, because you're already in that empowered state. That's the difference. So the other thing is who and what to believe. There's so many stories. There's a mainstream. There's so-called fictional authority, fictional experts, medical and otherwise, financial and otherwise, and so forth. There's that. Who to believe. Who and what to believe. Then you got the, what do you call it? What's the other one? Alternative news, alternative media, alternative viewpoints and so forth. And you have the pros and the cons, and you got switching back and forth and so forth. Who do I believe? What do? You can look at the viewpoint, see what resonates for you. But also notice if it's fear-driven. Also notice if it's a disempowered state that's playing out, or is it where you're making a choice because it totally resonates and it feels cool, and that's why I'm doing this. So who do you believe? Who and what? You! You believe you. And it goes beyond belief. You're tapping into your own knowing. Own knowing. That's what you're tapping into. Your own knowing. You know inside, deep inside, and when I say deep inside, from your own higher aspect of yourself, what really is. Do you think I'm going around and say who to believe or what to believe? I'm open to hear what the offerings are. I use my own navigation. Yeah, that makes sense. This and that. I'll plug in whatever. But you'll notice that what makes sense now could make sense a little less later, whatever it is, because you're shifting all the time. The decision's made by you, not because somebody else says for you to live your life this way or to do this way or get jobicated or get whatever. You make the choice because you're making the choice. Not by fear, not by peer pressure, not because of expectation, not because you're afraid to lose something or someone or whatever it is, because there's also relationships that are being challenged because of being or not being jobicated. A lot of different things. You're the one. Okay, let me just move this out of the way. So how free are we? A lot of people don't believe that we're free. And then there's others that do. Well, I'm free only up to this level. I'm only free until they tell me I can't be free. Or I'm free to do certain things, but I'm not free to do other things. Because there's all these rules, all these laws, which are all fictional, by the way. There's all these people that tell me what to do. All these things. So, how free are you? Ask yourself the question, how free am I? You are as free as you decide to be free. It's you. Not by any other means of stories and programs. Free because you are free. You are the creator. You're the spirit of creation. You're the designer. You are the experiencer. So you are free. Can we actually direct ourselves freely? Absolutely. We haven't for the longest time. We're just getting empowered. We're getting our wings back to be able to experience more freedom. That's all. So can we actually direct ourselves freely? Absolutely. Have we always been free? Always. We've always been free. We've always had free will. Free will. It's always been there. We just got convinced how to use our free will. That's all. Why do you feel? Okay, people talk about the dark. They talk about the agendas. They talk about the controllers. And so forth. That they dictate. They tell us, but not only tell us, they have control. Let me ask you the question. Do they? Yes or no? Do they? Do they? Yes or no? If you said no, you're correct. If you said yes, that's a temporary idea that you've adopted. That's all. There's no right or wrong. You can adopt this and experience it. Most of us have. So the dark controllers, like people like to call it, which are the brother sister souls that are playing the polarized version, the inverted part, what are they doing? They're convincing you, programming you. For what? To use your free will and to project. Can they change the world? Zero, no. They can convince as many people as possible to change the world. Why is the world the way it is? Why are we stuck in boxes? Because we bought into the idea and we give it power. We're the ones that are imprisoning ourselves. You know, they talk about the pyramid. The elites are way up here, and then you have all the different levels. First of all, this is like a tiny, minuscule amount in comparison to how many souls and role players and physicalities exist in the world. These are all us. But it's just that we take the instructions, we buy into the idea, and guess what? We start following whatever they say. They is another version of us. So when we ask the question, have we always been free? Absolutely. We're the ones that restrict ourselves because we bought into it. Yeah, very convincing. We started as a young person. This is right, this is wrong, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, that's the rules, this is that. You got to follow, you go to school, we'll follow all of these programming and conditioning. That's only shaping us to see the world a certain way, because you cannot see the world a certain way unless you adopt the idea, the concept. You cannot feel restricted unless you use your free will to restrict yourself. This is the thing. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
Yeah, this mic can't be. Oh, okay. All right, here's a quickie. Does our 5D being, or whatever we came from before we seated here, does the 5D free will override the 3D avatar free will?
Right now, it has more presence in the sense of more of its directive. So what we can call our highest aspect of ourselves, or our highest self, is playing a stronger role, or at least it's taking that role to push things a little further, to be able to bring what we call the programmed conditioned avatar in alignment when it comes to the idea of free will. We've always had it, but we never thought we did, because we were convinced, the avatar, whatever you want to call it, convinced that we'd never had it, that we had to follow rules, which was kind of the agreement you made along the way. You always have the freedom to change any part of it. But as that is all played out, as we are looking at it now, we're coming to that realization that, hey, wait a minute, we have free will. We are here to experience with each other to the design that we choose. When we were designed originally, and which we're going back in its upgraded version, we knew we had free will. We knew that we are all unique. We are all different expressions. But we also knew we were all the same, in the sense we're all source. We're all physical form. It doesn't matter the shape, the color, the size, or whatever, what part of the world and what the tone of our skin or anything of that nature. It didn't make any difference, because our uniqueness was our uniqueness, but we were playing together. We knew that we had free will, and we did not impinge on other people's free will. But at the same time, was there disharmony or harmony? There was harmony, because there was an honoring of each other's free will, and each person's free will did not supersede somebody else's and did not impede on somebody else's free will, but at the same time created an environment where both can flourish, both can experience, or all the playmates can experience and grow without any restrictions. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so that's that. Okay. Q&A.
For just a few minutes.
Yeah, just a few minutes, because I don't have that much juice left.
And it's already 6 o'clock.
Okay, so I'm going to put this down.
We're not going to have much time for too many questions, so
Okay.
I'm going to just look at some of the ones from today, just so that we can stay on kind of.
Did we have leftover from last time? Yeah, I guess we did.
Oh yeah, we have an endless amount. We may change the format and just do ones with Q&A and nothing else. Just, anyways, that to come up at some point.
Sure.
Anyways, okay. Let me see. You've kind of answered already the primal fear about the food shortage, right?
Mm-hmm. And by the way, the primal fear, what we call primal fear, is not actually primal fear. That is a projected idea of fear, because our true self, all that primal stuff was all the inverted matrix implant and programming that was put in. It was not human nature's true design. So that fear was imposed, because in our true design we don't have fear. We just create whatever we choose to experience. We can create lack or abundance, which most of the time is, and it wasn't even so much abundance as whatever you need, when you need it, how you need it, and keep flowing. So that until that inverted separation, intensified, all of that stuff got plugged in. That's the only time that primal thing, which we call primal, came into play.
Okay, thanks, honey. All right, so I'm going to go with this one. Challenges. I feel like we are living the zombie apocalypse. People are happily giving away their rights and health. They just accept it like in a trance, feeling lonely and very tired. Happy to let it all go, but those around me are not there yet. I have 3 kids, and frankly, keeping them safe and health is taking its toll on my soul. Is the lesson to let go of my loved ones?
Yeah, let go. When I mean let go of the importance, let go of the stress that you're putting on yourself. Understand that you guys are all a team. You're working together. It's not about you protecting them. It's both, all of you, create an environment which is nurturing, an environment which is not going to present certain polarities and experiences that are not, chosen to engage in or anything of that nature. So we're talking about that rather than anything else. So when we're talking about the whole idea of tiring and so forth, it's because we're putting a lot of energy in the old version of ourselves. Plus, we're also having self-challenging or self-conflict within ourselves because we know better from a higher perspective, but still playing the older, lower perspective of ourselves. So it's letting go of the importance, the letting go that it all is on your shoulders, letting go the fact that they have no power. You have to understand that we all have equal power. It doesn't matter how small the package is or not. This is the thing. So you're saying, well, as children, I'm responsible for them. Yeah, you're playing a role with each other and whatever that may be, but at the same time, you're equal in how you create. So you involve them to create an environment that is flourishing for everybody involved. And if they choose to have an experience otherwise, hey, they have the capability. You cannot stop them from doing so. That's an illusionary part of it, because you can be as protective as you want. If your child wants to experience, say, injury or whatever that may be, you can't stop it. They'll find a way where you're not involved, or find a way where they get around you in one way or another. But if they're not, it doesn't matter if you're being lax or not. I've seen parents that are super lax and the kids have whatever experiences without having any negative experience. Then there are ones that are parents that are so overprotective and the kids have a lot of negative. Now, why is that? Because it's up to the child, as it is up to you, what experience you need that's going to serve you and what is going to give you an opportunity to flourish with or not.
Sorry for the long pause. Okay, the next question. As we leave behind the programming, we leave behind the emotional impact. It feels almost inhuman being so detached, calm, blissful. If one looks at present realities for others not in this place, is this merely another program?
Yes, it is. It's another program. It's another conditioning that you have, that it's not human not to get involved or to feel bad for people or to have, compassion. And there's two types of compassion. There's true compassion and there's ego version compassion. The ego version compassion, or the program compassion, which is not our natural state, is to feel bad for people. True compassion is understanding where everybody is and allowing them to have their experience and sharing with them when they're open for it, so that they access their own understanding and knowing and direct their lives a certain way. But you're never going to feel bad for anybody, because everybody is self-empowered, everybody is a powerful being, and everyone is equal. So it's not less than. So that's the thing. In this idea that it's not human because we are neutral, that we are relaxed while there's a lot of turmoil or whatever it is. Remember, you being disconnected, and when I say disconnected, meaning disconnected from the system in the sense of getting caught up in the system, is actually a very powerful example on how to live a true life. And it not only is it an example, it's streaming into the collective as a confirmation, as an option way of living. So when people say, well, neutrality is boring, it's not. Neutrality means that you're not emotionally charged, you're not polarized, you're completely wide open, and you have whatever experience you choose, and not limited by it or controlled by it, but you're free to flow with things. So you actually, in neutrality, experience tremendously much more. Because when you're not neutral, you're either playing on one side or other and flicking from one side to the other, and you get to miss the best part, which is everything in between and everything that is available. Because look, somebody says to you, hey, let's go to a party, let's go to whoever. But if you're emotionally charged that parties are bad, or this and that, or I had a bad experience or anything of that nature, you're not neutral. So you're not open to have a new experience. You're still labeling it from an old experience, an old, definition of an experience or label or anything of that nature.
Okay, we'll do two more.
Okay.
Is it right that we share how ridiculous the systems are on social media so that others can see through the BS?
Yes, I mean, share it. Share it not because you want to change people, share it because you're observing and how you're seeing it. It's great that you're sharing it because it triggers other people to kind of, let me pay attention to this. You may jolt them in the sense of going, I didn't look at it that way. Well, now that I'm looking at it, it does make no nonsense. You're not going to judge it. This is the thing. You don't want to judge it. You don't want to say this is bad, this is stupid, this is this or that. I'm noticing that this doesn't make any sense. I'm noticing that this doesn't even refer to how things actually work. There's no real backing, and that whenever there's certain things that are being projected, nobody is showing how it actually is. It's just, okay, we're the authorities. We're telling you that you got to do this or that. So you're sharing it as an opportunity to open people's eyes, not to judge it, not to say, hey, this is bad, or whatever it is. And just say, hey, I'm noticing, I'm seeing that this doesn't make any sense. I'm also realizing that in one way or another that things don't add up, or whatever it is. So yeah, share it, but look at the intent behind the sharing. To awaken, yes, that's great, but don't put polarization or judgment involved in it or anything of that nature, or calling it stupid or whatever it is. So present it. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense, and be free to share that, because what's happening is that you're much more impactful with the message if you're non-judgmental, because then people won't put up resistance, will not put up a shield and say, oh no, they're just crazy, they're just saying whatever there is. But if you're saying it from your observation, from your investigation, from you looking at things and also noticing what's going on, that this doesn't make any sense, or that the fact that this is not substantiated, this doesn't actually have any backing, or that other factors that people are overlooking because they're looking at certain things that are not really authenticated or anything of that nature, then that's fine. That will be much more impactful than coming in for judgment. Because when you're polarizing it and you're conflicting it, people put up their barriers.
Okay, last question. Going back to free will. If we choose to not pay taxes or other controls put on us, it seems we know what the consequences are. So how can we play in that field of free will?
Well, the thing is, even the taxes and all that stuff is fictional, okay? Yes, there are so-called fictional authorities that say, hey, you got to pay taxes and whatever else because that pays for things, which is absolutely not true anyways. The money is just continue generated from nowhere anyways. The so-called taxes are imposed in a sense so that it keeps you restricted, keeps you, following rules with the assumption or the idea that we can incarcerate you, punish you, or do this to you, or whatever it is. If you are truly in a state where that doesn't even come into your radar, you're not emotionally charged about it, there's no good, bad, right, wrong about it, or anything of that nature, you'll notice that things will change so that you don't have to participate. But it really is where you're coming from. If you're looking at it that they are taking advantage of it or something like that, then it's you're going to create that conflict, and then you're going to be in their radar. You're going to be seen in that way. Or if you're trying to take advantage of the game in a certain way, that's a different story. Because if it doesn't really resonate, I don't want to support this or anything of that nature, then you do so, but with no judgment. You're basically in neutrality, and you'll notice that you'll disappear from their observation point or their target point of some sort, and you don't have to. So this is the thing, is that there's much more to this than what is being projected. A lot of all of these rules and what you need to do and not to do was, again, to create polarization, to create restriction, to create survival, and things of that nature. But if you're feeling that fully within yourself, you'll notice a lot of this stuff will dissolve anyways.
That's it, honey. We'll wrap it up for tonight.
Okay, great.
Come back next Tuesday.
Well, that's the intent, absolutely.
Yep, that's the intention.
The intentions for next Tuesday. So I do have a couple of shows that I'm doing. I will be posting an interview I did a month ago, which now is available to be accessed for free. I will post it on Facebook and I'll also put it on the YouTube channel, Advancing Consciousness series of an interview. Plus, I'll be doing a show with Tales of the Ship.
You're doing Todd. Is Todd first or
No,
Tales?
no. Tales of the Ship is
Okay,
first
at
at 3
3
p.m.
p.m.
Eastern
Yep.
time, and at 5 p.m. Eastern time. This is all on Friday.
Yeah, on
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, lucky Friday.
Happy Friday. Yes, Friday the 13th, and then I'll be doing a show with Todd Medina, Zoology, at 5 p.m. So you'll have today's show, or today's episode. You will have an interview that will come out either tomorrow or Thursday, and that was done a month ago with Jackie White and what is it called? Inspiration LP, I think, something like that. Then, of course, the two shows that I'm doing with Todd and also with Andreas Moreno on Tales of the Ship. So that's coming up in the next few days. So you'll have lots of resources to play with this week. And then next week we'll see what else is going on. But next week we'll do another show. And there's something else that will be rolling out very shortly, so you'll see that coming out. I won't say just in case I run into some snags. Anyways, thank you for your support, and go ahead.
Oh no, I just really wanted to say to everybody, thank you for their contributions, their donations that they've been sending in, especially of late. It's been really helpful, and all your well wishes for Franco. It's been really nice and heartwarming to have everybody, send us a little email or whatever message, and it's been nice. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for that. And what else was I going to say? Yes, so thank you for everything, and for being part of this beautiful transformation going through, being part of the series. The series is really for you to trigger your own knowing and so forth, to kind of keep you on track. This is kind of a great way to bring us together. We will be launching an upgraded version of a membership group fairly soon. Not right now, we have Let's Talk About You, but we're upgrading to something else at this point in time. It's in the works. It probably won't come until next month or the following month. But anyways, that's something else that we're doing. Yeah. Go out and have a blast, and we'll see you again. So stay tuned for all the other episodes and coming up, but also the shows coming up this week. So thank you again. Go out and play.